but only 2 per week are actually scheduled. Okay, I'm all set up on YouTube and TikTok. So YouTube goes for the whole hour, and TikTok and Instagram I split in half. So I'm doing TikTok for the first, and then I'll do Instagram for 30 minutes. Okay, so anyway, if you're new here, it's usually regulars, but if you're new here, my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you'll see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and my coaching. It's all, everything I have to offer in my business is in that link above. And also, if you're downloading the behavior board, it takes a few minutes before it arrives to you, because I've got like a third-party delivery system. It's just the way it works out for my company the best. So yeah, it'll take a few minutes. I get emails and messages every single day. I didn't get the behavior board. And then a couple minutes later, oh, I got it. It takes a minute. It'll arrive in a confirmation email. Okay. Anyway, let's get going with your parenting questions. Okay, toddler hates getting dressed, throws a tantrum. Oh, geez, I just did a video on that, didn't I? Did I? Gee, that's a coincidence. Did I? Just a sec. I just did a video on that. Did I? I wonder if I posted it though. That's the thing is, let me just double check here. Pretty sure I posted that one. Did I? Anyway, I'll see in a second here. And then I'll answer your question, but I just want to confirm that I did actually post it. Sorry, it's just when I'm doing a live, everything takes forever to download. So, view profile. Sorry about that. I just want to confirm that I've got that up there before I tell people to go and look at it. Okay, come on. Oh, they've changed things. Okay, just a sec. I never look at how to get a defiant, how to get a defiant toddler dressed. I actually did a video on that. You have to overpower them. You have to win that battle. It's one of those small battles that you win when they're little, and it pays off down the road. You watched it today. Good, okay. So yeah, you just got to win it. You can overpower them when they're little, and it doesn't matter. They might have their clothes on inside out. I don't care. You just act as if you know what you're doing, and you're gonna be getting dressed now. So here we go. And I know it's difficult, but you got to win these battles. You got to show them who's boss, right? Because if they got to get dressed to go out the door. You don't have to win every single battle, but you got to get them dressed before you can get out the door. You don't want to take a naked toddler out in the middle of winter, right? What are appropriate chores for toddler under 3? Nah, I don't do that. Yeah, while I'm cleaning up, if they're cleaning up, I go, oh, good job. But yeah, I don't give under 3 jobs or chores. Or what I might say is I'd say something like this to my little one. I might say, oh, we're going to go have a snack now. As soon as you put your toys away, we'll have a snack. They might do it. They might not. Yeah. I also want to say when I'm on Instagram, a lot of people are on both now. When I'm on Instagram, I often talk about videos that I've posted. Well, I don't do my Instagram. I only do my TikTok. So I know what's on TikTok because I do it. But I don't know when videos are going to turn up on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. So it's kind of frustrating. I mean, you have to outsource some stuff, right? I can't do everything. But anyway, so yeah, if you do follow me on Instagram and I keep talking about videos I'm posting, they might not even be there, but they all start out here because I control TikTok, but I have someone else doing the other stuff. It's all my stuff, but they just pick and choose what they're going to put on different platforms. They're better at that than I am. I don't know. Plus, I know what's going to do well, and I know what's not going to do well. Here's the problem with me is I'm going to say, even if I know it's not going to be popular and no one's going to want to watch it, I still have to put it out there because I have to be true to myself. There's so many messages I want to send parents, and I'm just going to put out, I don't care if it's going to be popular or looked at or not. But by the time it gets to the other platforms, they're probably just going to pick the more popular videos, right? So on TikTok, you get it all if you're interested. Okay, so I'm just waiting for parenting questions. In the meantime, most parents here have toddlers. I'm just going to go through my 5 top tips for raising toddlers. I say it every single day, but I'll do it again. Number 1 is you childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're not bored. Number 3 is when you want to bond with a toddler, you do so in their world. They're all about going to the park and rolling down the hill. They don't want to go to a nail salon or a cafe with you. They might, but that's not what I would do. If you want to bond with them, you enter their world. Number 4, it's kind of the same. When you want to discipline them, you enter their world. They're all about actions. They're not about words. All these mini therapy sessions that are so trendy right now, discussing all their big emotions and big feelings, it's crap. That's just for the mom. It's nothing to do with the toddler. They're about consistent corrective actions. And number 5 is quit trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings, and they've just got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there, okay? They're just forming. It's not even so much that they're crazy. I always call them crazy, but they just haven't formed sanity yet. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years, and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like, they're just forming, so don't try and figure them out. Or if you do, let me know, because I've never been able to figure them out. I just go with it. I know how to manage them and how to work with them, but I never really figured out, like, why would you go like this and smear poop on a wall? I can't quite figure that one out. 13-year-old boy, oh, I love teenage stuff. My favorite age is teenagers. 13-year-old boy seems upset about something. He won't open up. I don't want to hound him. What should I do? Sit down beside him and play video games with him. Stuff comes out incidentally with boys, especially teenage boys. So sit down and play video games with them, whatever, just be there. Don't ask him about it. If you probably already have, but just sit down beside him. And even if he doesn't tell you what's wrong, it still helps to have someone sitting beside you, connecting with you, playing, games or whatever. So in other words, just be furniture. Let them know you're there. That's a really good point. That I haven't, no one ever asked me about teenagers on here. So thanks so much for that, because they are my favorite age. I do specialize in teenagers. And I often have told this story, how my son, he was 14. And every single morning up for the first 14 years of his life, I'd go, morning, sweetie. And he'd go, morning, mom. Well, when his voice was cracking, that's how he sounded. Morning, mom. And so I'd laugh. I'd laugh. He'd laugh. No big deal. One day, no kidding, I got up and it was like overnight. I couldn't believe it. Hey, I said, morning, sweetie. And he goes, morning, mom. And his voice had dropped, like it didn't crack at all. He just looked different. He was turning into a man. So all of a sudden, we weren't like girlfriends anymore. He always used to say, I'm not your girlfriend, mom. We used to talk about everything, and he was turning into a man. It's just different. I tried everything I could to keep my girlfriend, but he turned into a man. Probably better for him, but worse for me. Anyway, so I thought, how am I going to bond with this guy now? We have nothing in common anymore. He loved video games, hanging out with his friends, all that. I thought, how am I going to bond? Like, how am I going to keep this friendship going, right? Because we were really close when he was growing up. So I became furniture. So I went downstairs in the rec room where his PlayStation was all set up, and I just sit down with a magazine. I didn't ask to play. You wait for that. You wait to be invited into a teenager's world. You don't force yourself on them. So I just sat there with a magazine. Next thing you know, as time goes on, he's handing me a controller. Maybe the next time I go down there, we're really getting into games, he hands it to me right away. Then next thing you know, he's making up playlists of music that he likes that I hate, but then he's trying to find things that I would like. And so he'd do music playlists for me. Anyway, this was really funny. It's kind of off topic, but I want to tell the story anyway. I think it's funny. I'm really bad at playing video games, and my son loved doing this racing game. And I'm lousy at it. I'm always hitting the barriers, going off cliffs, fireballs. I mean, I just can't drive, because I can't do a game if I don't have perspective on where I'm sitting. And anyway, I was horrible at it. He goes to the bathroom, and then when he comes back, I go, I can't believe it. You missed it. I did the most phenomenal lap. You should have seen it. I was killing it. He looked at me like I was insane. He goes, Mom, that was my replay. That's how useless I am. I didn't even know it was a replay. I thought I was doing that. Anyway, so we had a lot of laughs over that. So you enter their world, wait till you're invited, and that's how you bond with your child. And my kids told me everything, because I was really good at entering their world. And yeah. Oh, I'll give you my top 3 tips for parenting teens, and then I'll get back to the questions, just because it's an important point. My top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. I don't know why I have to look at the list. I already know it, but anyway. Number 1 is listen to understand. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. By the way, they already know it. Number two is you negotiate pretty much everything. I got a video coming up on that because someone said you can't negotiate everything. I'll get into that on a video. Anyway, you negotiate pretty much everything. Say something like this: "Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me?" Sort of like that. There's a lot of, and with teenagers, I haven't got a course on teenagers. It's very hard to generalize because every single family that I coach, especially with teenagers, the advice is so different with each family because I have to get to know exactly what they need. It's very specific to each family. Anyway, and then the last one of the 3 tips to parent teenagers is don't sweat the small stuff. Save your energy for the big stuff if it comes along because you're going to need it. Okay. Bad words, how to stop, nothing works. Okay, assuming they're 3 and over, because you didn't tell me an age, I'll just say they're 3. So use my free behavior board that's in the link above, and you put down no bad words. And if there is, there's a consequence for that. They'll learn. Yeah, negotiating is a hard concept for me. Back in the day, the parents were real. Yeah, that's the old-fashioned authority-style parent. It's not a bad way to parent, by the way. Kids will rebel in the teen years, but they'll come out the other end appreciating what their parents did for them, and they'll be strong individuals as a result of it. The horrible style that's in right now is called the pleaser parent style. You try and make everything easy for your kids. Heaven forbid you should upset them. You want to, oh God, teacher, do this to my kid. You're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. That's the horrible way to parent. I teach leadership. It's somewhere, but it's not really in between. But you want to give respect to get it because your goal is to make them like themselves and to guide them into making good choices. Your main goal is how they feel about themselves, their high self-esteem and all that, their confidence and all that. And then you want to be fun. You want to be friends with your kids. But you're always parent number 1. That's your number 1 role. But yeah. Are sleepovers appropriate at any age? Absolutely not. It's very specific to each child and each friend. Where are they going? I don't want to tell you horror stories, but I used to do a lot of crisis work in my business. So no, now I don't want to tell you the story because you'll know what would have happened. Yeah, just make sure you know where they're going. Okay. And it's individual. Hi, yeah, you're live. Yes, I'm live. I just turn up whenever I can. I don't know if I am is here, but I am turns up. One of my most, one of the followers is I am, and they're here a lot. You get to know some of the names. I haven't seen Doc for a while. Okay, maybe you're here. I just didn't see it. Daughter 12 made social media account against my rules. Okay. Why did you not allow her to have a social media account? I got to question that. So it's against your rules to have a social media account. What you're basically saying is you're cutting her off at the knees with no negotiating. She's 12. She's just on the cusp of almost a teenager. So I would say, yes, you can have a social media account, but I need the password. I need to be able to check in with it because I want to guide you along the way. And also you got to talk to her about safety. You know how many kids I've worked with who were talking to someone online and tried to meet them and they never had a live video chat, or some of them, they can have a live video chat and they can use a picture of like this gorgeous young guy and they use a picture and they can almost make it look like it's talking. So you can tell the difference though. I've seen all that stuff. But yeah, then coach them on safety stuff and make sure you get the password. So yeah, don't cut her off at the knee. She's going to want a social media account. So get one with her and then guide her along and show her how to do it. Do video. I could talk to you about it, but it's not my specialty. Kind of is in coaching. I talk about this stuff. But anyway, I don't want to really do a video on that. Why don't I? I don't do a lot of videos on teenagers because so much of what I work with is kind of icky and I don't want to scare you. That's why. Because most of you have young kids and I don't want to scare you. Or maybe I should. Maybe I should just say what comes up in coaching. Yeah, because teenagers are my specialty. They're my favorite age. When you're good at getting respect with a teenager, they are phenomenal. They're fascinating. They're interesting. If you're not learning from raising your kids, you're missing out, especially with teenagers. My 3-year-old son is angry most of the time. How can I help him calm down and control his feelings? You're looking at this the wrong way. You got to look in a mirror, say, how can I be a better leader? So that will calm him down. It's all about you. They're following your lead from the age of 3 to 12. So when you're a good leader, it makes them feel safe. It makes them feel secure. It just calms them down. So work on your leadership skills. You can check out my boot camp course. That's in the link above, and it teaches you how to be a leader. I have a teenager and I'm dying. All teenage stuff is generally coaching. because it's so specific to each family. I have a really hard time with general teenage advice because most of it's very specific to each family. But anyway, if you want to work with me, check it out. In the link above, check out coaching. Otherwise, you can ask a parenting question on a teenage question on here. I might be able to answer it. Some of them I can, some of them I won't. Depends on how rough it is. And a lot of it I have to assess the situation to even give you any general advice. Oh, you asked about, it starts with an O. I don't want to read it out because I don't know what it is. Yeah. There. Okay. Well, I don't know the age of your kid. And, do I want to get into all this? I might do a video on it. Media safety, online safety. Should I do a video? Would you be interested in seeing that? Online safety. This is something that comes up a lot in coaching, but I don't tend to talk about it. Anyway, I'll write it down. Online safety. Oh, sugar, just a second. Online safety tips. I'll just do some tips. Keep it general. Online safety tips. Okay, I got it down. I'll do a video on that eventually. I did this humiliating, I used to do a lot of TV, and it's all live, all the TV I did, morning shows, news shows. You come on as a parenting expert and give advice. And, I don't know if I can say it here, but it said something, not knowing what I was saying. And it just coincidentally, my son and my ex-husband were watching it live, and they were just dying because I didn't know what I was saying, and I kept going on about it, and the interviewer was on. I'm getting more savvy now, but I don't have a filtering system. I just say whatever comes into my mind. That's why you're getting the real me. I can't filter. Oh, so humiliating. Even now, it's so humiliating. I remember what it was too. It was humiliating. Okay. 18-month-old throwing tantrums. Yeah, they're either going to do or they're not. And you just got to survive it. Like, I do have a tantrum busting course, but you still have to survive it because it's going to take time. They're not going to stop having tantrums. When you get good at ignoring tantrums the right way, they will minimize in duration, frequency, and intensity. Anyone who's been watching me for a while will be proud of the fact I just came out with that. It's the duration word. Gee, I had a terrible time remembering that. I always wanted to say modification. I don't know why, but anyway. So yeah, so you get good at ignoring tantrums the correct way, and then they will decrease in duration, frequency, and intensity. They'll still have the odd one till they're about 3, 3.5, 4. They'll still have them, but then they sort of learn how to handle their anger. They'll always have a temper. They either have tantrums or they don't. It's one of those things they're born to do or they're never going to do. I never had one. My daughter never had one. My son had them. The other 3 things that they're born to do, they're either going to do or they're never going to do. One is being aggressive towards others, hitting. They're either going to not, I didn't do it. My kids didn't do it. Some kids just do. Okay. The other one is climbing, and the other one is running. So like running away from you. They don't look behind when they run. They just take off. They have no fear. So yeah, the tantrums is one of them. But you're not going to get rid of them totally, but you can learn to manage them. Yes, please. You want to hear about online safety? Okay, I will do a video on that. I want to collect my thoughts on that because I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to talk about some of the stuff I've dealt with in my business. It can get ugly. And how to get a young teen off the electronics when told without an argument. Oh, I got a good one for you. Get a media management system in place. You decide how many hours per week you want your young teen, your teenager to have per week. And you sort of negotiate with them. You start low and they'll start high. And then you go, oh, let's meet in the middle. That's probably where you want to be anyway. So you say, okay, let's meet in the middle. How many hours per week? Just as an example, this probably isn't enough for a teenager. Let's say it's 10 hours a week. You've both decided on 10 hours a week and they manage it. You do not micromanage that. If you do, you're not a leader. You're just becoming an authority again. You're just becoming a nag, especially teenagers. They don't want to hear it. So you have it written down. You say, okay, so here you've got 600 minutes per week and you keep track of it. So let's say they've been on for an hour and 5, that's 65 minutes. You white that out, or pardon me, cross all that out, put X's and all little dots, get a system in place and let them manage it. The thing is, if they use up all their time, you know, by Thursday, then they won't have anything over the weekend. Allow them to learn how to manage themselves, especially with teenagers. You're sort of eliminating your own, you're eliminating yourself from the process. In other words, you've already agreed on this system, and then it's up to them to manage it. You don't want to be micromanaging teenagers. Then there are all these other questions come up whenever I talk about this. Then they say, what if they have a friend over? Do not, then let's say they don't have any time left and they have a friend over who's going to come over and play video games. You've got to decide whether or not that's, if they're doing it just to get extra time or not. And then so you can let them go on. Okay, you guys can go on there for a couple hours because he's got a friend over, he's got no time left. But then you take it off the next week. So yeah, it can be tricky. You know, in coaching, we go through all this stuff. You get into all the nitty gritty in coaching, but that's my general thing, is set up a chart, decide how many minutes or hours per week, you know, but put it down in minutes, and then let them manage it. Ignore the negative, reward the calm. Yeah, I always say you ignore the crazy and reward the calm. So that's during a tantrum. When they're having a tantrum, should I tell the swing story? You've probably all heard it by now. What age do you start ignoring tantrums? 16 months. Before that, you use diversion and redirection. So if they're having a tantrum, I would probably go sit on the couch, take their favorite book that they love, that you read to them every night in bed or whatever, and I would probably sit on the couch reading it out loud to myself. Don't look at them, don't talk to them. You sit just reading it. Oh, and the fox went over there. Wow. And the idea is they'll come crawl in your lap. But yeah, about 16 months, you start to ignore tantrums. And well, you have to tell me how old your son is. He punches you a lot. Is he 16, 16 months? I need an age. And put the whole question and an age. Any advice on teenagers? Yeah, I already read out my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1 is you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? And number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff. When they do make a small mistake, I'll save your energy for the big stuff if you need it. If they do make a mistake and it's not a huge deal, just say, so I would have said this. Well, that was stupid. Wait till you hear what I did when I was your age. Like, just use humor. It's no big deal. We're all allowed to make mistakes. Oh, this is my problem when they throw tantrums. I give in. Yeah, you are feeding that tantrum. It's going to grow and grow and grow. They're going to use that against you for years to come if you don't learn how to manage it when they're little. I love those 3 top tips for teens. You know, they're my favorite age. I used to mentor troubled teens, and they're the ones who told me to start this business. They said, Lisa, you have to teach this stuff. No one's ever talked to us like you do. So, because they also said they really liked themselves when they were with me, and they wanted to do good with me. Like I brought out the best in them. And that's important. When you're dealing with teenagers who are in pain, you want them to like themselves. You don't want them to feel crappy about all this stuff they're doing wrong. I don't focus on the bad stuff. I deal with it. But then I focus on the good kid. I got to dig in there to find it sometimes, but I always focus on the good kid. My goal is always to make kids feel good about themselves, always. That's why discipline should be like that. Get it over into, yeah, okay, you messed up. Here's the consequence. Now, do you want to go to the park? You see, you don't harp on that negative stuff. You deal with bad behavior, but you focus on the good kid. You focus on the positives, because what you focus on, what you put your energy into is what grows. If you're always trying to discipline them, it's just going to be a nightmare. They're going to feel like crap about themselves, and they're just going to say, what's the point? I'm lousy anyway. I'm just going to be rotten all the time. So you don't want to do that. If you're not, I could go on and on about teenagers. They are my absolute favorite age, because when you're good at getting respect, and once you understand them, they're the best. They're just the best. So yeah. No one ever believes that, but yes, that's how I feel about teenagers. And it's very hard to find people out there who feel my way, who feel that way. But once you understand how to get respect, like I'm often hired by principals, teachers, child psychologists. I've never been hired by a youth worker, not that I know of. They specialize in troubled teenagers. When you can get respect with a troubled teenager, you don't need my help. Like that's the PhD in all this. It's knowing how to give to get. Knowing how to give respect to get it. The teenagers that's the epitome in that. Please do. I forgot what I was going to do. Was that the online safety you're talking about? Yeah, I'll do a video on that. Okay. How can I make my 4 boys stop fighting? Oh, geez. ages 8 to 4 years old, you got to get organized. You got to figure that out. Also, they're probably fighting over stuff, right? So make sure that each child say, look, if you're going to fight over it, this is yours, this is yours, this is yours. Dole out the toys for a while. Put their names on it even. So no kid can play with that except that one kid. And then if not, then you have times for everybody. Get systems in place. Get really organized with this. One of the main reasons that kids fight, oh, I'm going to do a video on this. Just a sec. Kids fight because of injustice. They don't feel things are fair. That's why you have to make sure that you make things fair. So they're less likely to fight. That's just one of mine. I got a million different tips for kids not fighting. That's just one of them. Make it fair. Do you do consultations? You mean the free consultations? I don't do those anymore, but I do coaching. You'd have to hire me. Do you know why I don't do free consultations? I've been in this business now for 17 years, running my own company, and I always had free consultations on my website. I blew up on TikTok about 1.5 years ago, like just blew up overnight. And everyone went in and they just crowded. They took over all the consultations. Guess how many people turned up? What percentage? Maybe 20, if that. But 80% of those consultation appointments, 30-minute free consultations, they didn't turn up. I wasted 3 weeks of my life doing that, just sitting there waiting. It was so frustrating. So yeah, I don't do consultations anymore. This is where I give all my free advice. This is why I'm on here every single day live, is because, or pretty much every day. This is all my free content now. The consultations I had to get rid of. Isn't that awful? I was just sitting there for 3, and I shut it down. As soon as I realized what was happening, it took me about a week or two before I realized. And then I think it ended up being, because they were all 3 weeks ahead. So I think it ended up being about 5 weeks out of my life that I just, was a nightmare. Oh, God. Okay, you're not going to like my answer, but because it's not a good answer. How can I balance being a stepmom but also giving in sometimes because he'll never be at that age? You got to be consistent. Discipline is love. Kids pick up on that. I was a leader. I was also the one the kids would ask for. So I'm a very strong leader, but kids always requested me. Why would they do that? Leaders are fun. Leaders make kids feel good about themselves. I'm going to tell you the pool story. And I never gave in. I was consistent 100% of the time. And every single kid who's ever worked with me knows that. I never gave in. I would never, okay, this time you can do that. You know, I would never in a million years do that, because a leader is reliable. A leader, when they say they're going to do something, does it. Anyway, I'm going to tell you the pool story. It's probably my favorite story because it explains how I treat kids and how I think, if you want to, you can. I was going to say how everyone should. Well, that's very arrogant for me to say, but I think it's a good way to treat kids when they're acting out. Anyway, my son was, true story, my son was 8 years old. It was his pool party for his birthday. So we invited 5 8-year-old boys over. And no parents were allowed, or they were, but I said, you can't talk to me because we had a pool. All I'm doing is counting heads the whole time. Everyone left, even moms who didn't know me. They already knew I worked at the school a lot, or I was volunteering at school every day pretty much. So they all trusted me anyway. But as soon as I said, just don't talk to me because I won't talk to you. So, because all I'm doing is counting heads the whole time. I take safety very seriously. Anyway, so I said to the boys before they got in the pool, I said, okay, no whaley in the pool. Whaley was a giant blow-up toy, and we didn't have a foot pump, so I didn't want to like blow it up again, like let all the air out. So Whaley was way off to the side, but it was still within the fenced pool area, which stupid me. I probably should have put it on the other side. Anyway, but they're 8. They can understand that. So anyway, I said, Whaley cannot go in the pool. It's a safety hazard because I can't see behind Whaley, and all I'm doing is counting heads. 3 little boys could drown in the pool and I wouldn't even know it. So anyway, fine, get in the pool, have fun. That was it. Sure enough, one of the kids brought Whaley in the pool. So I said to him, Whaley out of the pool now. And I'll explain why I do all this in a minute. Whaley out of the pool now. I said it once. He said to me, no. My son went like this. He knows mom knows how to take care of business. Fully clothed. I was in the pool like that. And I had that kid up beside me. And I said, you're going to sit there for 10 minutes. And my son got Whaley out of the pool and they kept playing. So anyway, the whole time this kid's sitting there for 10 minutes, I was asking him about soccer. I was asking him, we'd worked on a test together the previous day or week, or I don't remember. So I was talking about that. I was building him up. I was connecting with him, right? Building him up, talking about everything. Then I said, okay, 10 minutes is up. Go back in the pool and have fun. Couldn't get rid of him. He kept talking and talking and talking. I was looking at my son like, help. So finally my son said, okay, we're going to be playing basketball. We need, 2 teams of 3. So finally it goes back in the pool. And But then the rest of that party, he was all over me. Lisa, can I help you with this? Can I help you with that? Now, did I ignore what he did wrong? No, I dealt with it like that. But then I focused on the good kid. I set myself up as a leader instantly. Like, and he's trying to, when they're young, between the ages of 3 and 12, they want to please the leader. So, because they feel good about themselves around the leader. I made him feel good about himself. Anyway, his mom picks him up at the end of the party and said to him, "Were you rotten as usual?" And he kicked her in the shin and off they went. Yeah. Anyway, that was his identity at home, was that he was rotten. Whereas at my place, he felt great about himself. So you always want to bring out the best in kids. Anyway, I'm moving over to Instagram now. Check out the link. It's got all my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and coaching. And anyway, I'm moving over to Instagram, Bratbusters Parenting over there if you want to follow me over there. And thanks for watching. Sorry, YouTube. I'm just, okay, it's all done. It's going to be on Instagram. I do, the whole hour is on YouTube, but I do 30 minutes on each Instagram and TikTok. I usually do Instagram first, but today I did TikTok first. Hello. Welcome. Oh, shoot. It's another one of those days where I'm not turning up for some reason. There we go. Okay. It's just hard for me to look at a blank screen because I'm used to looking at the movement. Okay, good. Okay, so you came over from TikTok. I just told the pool story. So I'm going to answer. Not a lot of people are here. I've only got like 40 people here so far. So did he willingly just sit when you told him to? Yeah, because I'm building him up. I'm building him up. I'm talking to him. Hey, I saw you at soccer game the other day. He was like, yeah, you know, so I'm working it. I'm working it. It's hard work. It's exhausting. I'm working it. Yeah, he just sit when kids pick up on when you know what you're doing, they pick up on it pretty quick. He knew if he went in the pool, I would have dragged him out. It would have been 20 minutes. So you see, they learn. A lot of it, like it's not that easy for everybody if you're not used to doing it. That's one of the harder things to do is that I call it in the moment discipline. That if you get my boot camp course, that is week 4. It's 5 weeks. Week 4, I don't even start with the in the moment discipline till week 4. But that's where you all want to be there. You all want to know how to deal with stuff as it comes up. You have to learn how to do that. The body language, your tone of voice, your calmness. You're very quiet. I'm very quiet when I'm disciplining. My son used to say, if my mom ever whispers, run, because that's when I'm disciplining. I'm very quiet. The rest of the time, I'm loud and crazy. And the leader is fun, too. Leadership is fun. You want to be a friend with your kids. You want to be fun. You want to be funny. You want to be silly. You want to be goofy. That's what leadership's all about, because it's about connecting with kids. And that's how you do it. You want to be fun. How to react to 2-year-old biting. I have a whole course on that. It's one of my mini toddler courses. It's toddlers who bite. No, toddlers who hit, bite, etc. I don't know. I can't remember what I named it. That's my worst name for a course that I have. I don't like that one. I love toddler tantrum busting. That's a good one. I don't like the toddlers who hit, bite. But anyway, says it like it is. Okay. Was wondering at what age you think it's okay to have kids helping with chores or laundry? Around 3. That's when you can start, but keep it small. Like my kids from the age of 3 had 3 chores every single day. Was make their bed, and it didn't matter how messy it was. I just had a duvet and they just threw it over, and put their laundry away. I did laundry every single day. Plus I'm very organized. So they had an empty hanger and an empty spot where their clothes were rolled up. So it was just and I'd help them along the way. And then the third one is when asked to do so, they had to put their toys away. I did a toy rotation system, so there was only ever 5 toys out anyway. Took them all 3 chores took them under 2 minutes. So yeah. But I was already kind of a leader anyway. You just start with 1, maybe just get them to make their bed. And it can be sloppy. I'm fussy. I went in afterwards and did it the way I wanted it. And also, I want to say too, I'm extremely fussy and organized, and I never expected my kids to be that way. And I'm a closet cleaner. It doesn't mean I clean closets, which I do. It means I don't like to clean in front of other people because it's my meditation. It's my zen. I love cleaning. I find it very relaxing and rewarding. So, and my kids never really saw me clean a lot. and I cleaned all the time. So just behind their backs, like they didn't really see it because I maintain clean. I don't clean dirty. So, but yeah, I didn't put that on my kids. I didn't want my kids to have to feel the pressure to be that way because I don't necessarily think it's the right way to be. Like it works for me, but I don't just because I love being clean and fussy doesn't mean I think other people should. It's like I'm vegan, but do I think other people should be vegan? No, you do you. If you want to be messy and unorganized, be messy and that's fine by me. But yeah. I did a lot of as soon as method today and it worked amazingly. Oh, thank you for that. Okay, thanks for bringing that up. I'm going to do another video on that. As soon as method. What's your name? Cambria. What Cambria is referring to is my as soon as method. So you say to kids, if you can't get them to do stuff and they don't listen to you, wait till they ask for something. Can we have some snacks? Sure, as soon as you put your toys away. Sure. Can we watch TV? Sure. As soon as you've got all ready for school, everything's by the front door. So sure, as soon as. That's why I never told my kids what to do. And plus my kids got so good at that, they never asked for anything fun or like TV or anything until they'd done that. So it would just, like, it was no big deal. Can we watch TV? And I'd just go, yeah, sure. Because they knew they would never ask until they knew they'd done what they needed to do. Also, I would never ask kids to clean up a messy playroom if it was unorganized and there was too much stuff around. I think that's unrealistic. I like a toy rotation system so that they don't have that many toys to put away. Make it fair and reasonable. I've actually had clients who said, how do I get my kids to get their rooms cleaned up? They're just disgusting. I say, can you please walk in with your computer and show me and it's just a chaotic, cluttered, hoarding mess. And I say that you clean it out first, get organized, declutter, and then you can ask them to maintain clean. Don't expect kids to clean up that horrible, big, awful, cluttered mess. So it's a lot of the expectations of parents is unreasonable. Like my son even said, he was 15 and he says, I could never rebel with you because you're too reasonable and easy to talk to. Yeah, I'm very reasonable. So, and if my kids didn't think I was being fair, they would say something. They'd say, Mom, I think you were being a little bit too hard on us with that. And I'd go, really? And I'd say, yeah, you're right, I was. Okay. What can I do to make it up to you or something? So they always had a voice. But they were very respectful. But the as soon as method removes you from the whole process. It teaches them you got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. And that's called self-discipline. You know, we talk about self-discipline like it's wonderful, but discipline is bad. You discipline them so they can learn self-discipline. How can they have self-discipline if you've never disciplined them? They don't know right from wrong. They won't do it. So, but the as soon as method's a really soft way to get kids to do what you want them to do without telling them. What's your take on the age babies should watch TV? I don't have an opinion on that at all. I just don't, because nobody really knows. The jury's out on that. Like, how do we know if TV is good or bad? Some kids, it might be their eyeballs might turn square. They just get addicted to it. Others don't care. So yeah, I don't have there's no set answer to that at all. No, the leadership course is not suitable for autistic kids with ADHD. It's certainly ADHD. That's where I learned all this stuff, was kids who I call them alphabet kids. Autism's a bit different. Depends on where or on the spectrum they are, you know, how easy they are to communicate with and all that. So yeah, it can still help, but autism I only discuss in coaching. But ADHD, that's where I discovered all this stuff. That's how I learned all this. I never worked with an easy kid. I've worked with hundreds of kids. Not once, not ever did anyone ever say, here's an easy one, Lisa. They all went, good luck with this one. So I was always given the challenging kids. And that's where I learned all this, how to give respect to get it. I don't demand it. I command it. I work for it. I work my butt off to get kids to respect me. But I give respect to get it. That's why on the behavior board, you're on that too. And by the way, when you're asking questions, you have to put an age. Otherwise, you know, like someone in TikTok just now said, oh, my kid's just hitting us all the time. And I said, are they 16 or 16 months? Like, it makes a big difference. I'm having a very hard time with my 5-year-old and 3-year-old fighting, and hitting my 5-year-old cries for everyone I say no. Okay. So they're fighting. I just talked about that on TikTok. And what did I say in there? I have so many different things I can talk about kids who are fighting. Well, generally, my favorite answer to that is that when kids are fighting, I call it sibling rivalry, whatever you want. I always have a hard time saying rivalry. Anyway, when they're fighting. And so the best way to get them to have a good relationship is to not single them out and do one-on-one time. If you want to work on their relationship, you do things with them. And don't make it competitive, make it fun and silly. So let's see how many times we can run around the swing set without getting dizzy, or how many somersaults can we do without throwing up, stuff like that. I would have done one, and you do it with them. I would have done one and puked. So my kids would always win. Always play up to them, like play with what to their strengths and not yours. So you don't say, hey, let's play a game of chess. You say, hey, do you want to go and have a somersaulting contest? So what happens is they end up laughing at you, and then they bond by making fun of you. That's what my kids did a lot. That was great. Because they were 5 years apart, a boy and a girl. What did they have in common? Laughing at mom. And I'm up for anything. Okay. My 6-year-old is the sweetest boy until he can't have his way or something he wants. Well, so he's sweet so long as he's getting his own way. Aren't we all? Like, so yeah. Okay. I don't know what to say to that. There's a whole bunch of stuff I want to say, but I would be sarcastic. Don't want to go there. But anyway, check out my boot camp course. It teaches you how to be a leader, and then you know how to get respect. You know how to hand out rules and consequences. Yeah, that's 5 weeks, that course. Or you can just download the behavior board and check that out. Yeah, you've trained him to do that, by the way. He's just following your lead. You've trained him to do that. Guaranteed. At 6, not at 2, but at 6. You've trained him to do that. Guaranteed. Ignoring 2-year-old tantrums, but others around keep trying to calm them down. How do I get other people? Well, you want me to tell you how to manage other adults? I don't do that. But what I would say is, I'm just telling you what I would say, is it hurts my feelings when you undermine my parenting and interfere. If they don't understand that, I can't help you. If they don't respect you enough to listen to that, yeah. What about 13-year-old? He doesn't want to listen to me. Okay, so no, of course he doesn't want to listen to you. Anyway, my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers is, number 1 is you listen to understand and to show empathy. So you don't listen to gather information to lecture with. If he wants your advice, he'll ask for it. He already knows it anyway. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything with the teenager. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? Okay, that's general, but I know there's lots of exceptions to that. But anyway, and then number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff. They're allowed to make mistakes just like you did. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say that was stupid. Wait to hear what I did when I was your age. Like, it's okay to make mistakes. So don't sweat the small stuff. Save your energy for the big stuff if you get it, because you're going to need it. And if you want me to work with you, I don't have a course on teenagers. That's all coaching. They're my favorite age. That's kind of my specialty. I love teenagers. I don't work with teenagers. I only work with parents. I used to, when I first started coaching, I used to meet the teenagers. I don't do that anymore. It's irrelevant. I don't need to. How do I know if my child has a behavioral need or is just lashing out by choice? What do you mean a behavioral need? I have no idea what you mean by that. What's a behavioral need? No idea. Where'd you pick up on that? I never would have said that. So I don't know what that means. Sorry, I'm just flipping through because it doesn't scroll for me. And if I answer the older questions, people might have gone already. So. My 3-year-old daughter does very well when she's alone with me, but as soon as my husband gets home, she turns into a gremlin. Why? So she turns difficult. Is the husband the pleaser, or is she just overly excited, overly stimulated by this new person coming in? So I don't know which it is. I'd have to figure that out. But yeah, I don't know. So is he the pleaser? He gives into everything? Then that's why she would be like that. That's usually the main reason for that. Because it can work in the opposite way too. If the kids are home with the pleaser all day and then the leader walks in the door, the kids are usually really good, right? So it's the leader that they usually are good with. How to manage a 2-year-old that won't eat anything but a basic diet. Isn't a basic diet good? I don't know what you mean by that. But yeah, I can't discuss nutrition or because I'm not a nutritionist or a doctor, but I'll tell you what I did with my kids. It's a tad radical. No one would probably want to do this, but I'm really into healthy food, healthy eating. So I made, and I hate cooking, but I made everything from scratch. Oh, it's awful. Bread, pizza, everything. I made everything, almost everything from scratch. Anyway, although one time I made ravioli and I served it. I made the pasta. I did all the rolling out. I made the stuffing. I did everything. And then when my family ate it, they said, "Oh, that was great. Can we have more?" I spent all day making that. I never made it again. Anyway, I hate cooking anyway. So, but yeah, I made everything from scratch, and there was never junk food. So my kids never, they would eat their broccoli because they knew there was no ice cream waiting in the freezer. You know what I mean? Like there was no crap in our house. And then when they went out to birthday parties and that, like, have at it, eat whatever you want. They always came home with a stomach ache because when you're not used to having junk, it really affects you. So yeah, but I just, I can't go into it too much. I will have a course coming up, and hopefully by the new year it should be ready around then. It'll be called Mealtime Battles, and I'll be going into what I did with my kids, some tricks to keep them sitting at the table, but I won't be discussing nutrition because I'm not a nutritionist. It's not I'm not qualified to discuss that. But yeah, I just had healthy food in the house. So my kids got used to eating healthy. They didn't know any different. And I made a lot of cakes and cookies, but they didn't taste anything like what you would go out there and buy. And I could sneak in pureed spinach into pretty much anything. The first time my son ever had pizza out in the world, he came home and said, "It was really weird. The sauce was red." And I'm thinking that's because they didn't puree spinach and throw it in there. So I would hide healthy stuff in everything. Okay. And back in the day, we didn't have the magic bullet, and I love that thing. I make a lot of sauces in there, and like I make a whole bunch of stuff in there. Anyway, God, I wish I'd had that magic bullet. That would have been brilliant with kids. But yeah, I just had a food process. It was a big thing, and then I had something that you could actually turn. Back in the dinosaur days, and it mashed up the food. It actually worked really well, but it was labor intensive. And then I heard that it's not healthy. This is for baby food. That it's not healthy to freeze it first. You're supposed to make it fresh every day. Ugh, I think it's okay to freeze it. I don't know what. I don't know. I'm not qualified by that, but I remember that thinking, "Oh, great," and because I used to love freezing stuff in batches for babies, and then I heard that you're not supposed to do that. I don't know. I don't know what the right thing is. I don't know. Well, I don't know what's going on here. There could be a million different reasons for this. My daughter gets mad at my husband when he gets home. He works a lot. I'm usually the leader. If you want me to figure that out, I could assess that during coaching. But yeah, I don't know why. There could be several reasons for that. There you go. I puree the veggies that my kids don't like and make soups and sauces. Yeah, you got to get sneaky, right? Okay. I've worked with kids over 20 years, but when it comes to my own 2 and 4-year-old, I have no patience. I try from the moment I wake up until I can't get the constant screaming, fighting, crying. Hitting. Yeah. A lot of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists, you name it. They have all these degrees, and I have none, by the way. But I do understand parent-child relationships because I don't know, it's just my thing. But anyway, so it's not that they're struggling more than other people. It's just that they're learners and they want to get it right. But the thing is, I couldn't do their jobs. That's more institutional. You're removed from those children. There's not the emotions involved. With parent-child relationships, and I'm all about emotions. So, and when I was mentoring kids, I got involved. I always got really connected with kids because I kind of mothered them all. It's personal. Parenting is like nothing else. It's personal. So don't beat yourself up. Just because you've worked with kids for 20 years, so have my clients. They've worked with them for 40 years and they're still struggling. So yeah, it's a personal relationship. It's just different. Just keep watching my videos or the lives, and you can check out the link above. It has courses and free behavior board and coaching if you're interested. Oh, great. Okay, just want to say thank you for all your advice. It's been so helpful for my almost 2-year-old. Yeah, and I think one of the mistakes that people make is they check out me and then they check out someone else and they try and pick and choose different people to take what they like or what they think they want to do. You can't do that. Either follow me and follow my advice and only my advice, or do that with someone else, because it's sort of like dieting. You can't pick and choose what you like from different diets. What I teach, it's a whole methodology. It's based on giving respect to get it. It's a whole methodology. If you were to throw time out into my methods, it would tank. I hate time out. I think it's mean. So you see what I'm saying? So the people who get the most success that are the ones that follow me and only me, Or I'm sure it's same with other people too. I'm not saying just follow me. I'm just saying if I resonate, then only follow me for 3 weeks. If you get results, keep following. If not, then move on to someone else. I don't think I'm for everybody. I don't think anybody's for everybody. You got to follow someone that makes sense to you, that resonates with you. And like lots of people hate me. And believe me, they'll tell me. Which, you know what? And you know by now, this is Instagram, but on TikTok, they know me really well over there. I've been doing lives for like almost a year and a half on there. And whenever someone says something horrible about me, I love it because that's my incentive. It's like, oh, I'm shaking things up. I love that. So that's why they often back away. I probably shouldn't even admit that because then they just don't even say anything after that. How often do you do these lives? I'm on here pretty much every day, usually 6 to 7 days a week. Only 2 of them are regularly scheduled. The reason why I don't schedule every single day is I don't want to. I don't want to be held down to this every single day. So, or I do, but when I have time, right? It's usually when I'm procrastinating with something I don't want to do is when I come on. I love talking to you, but I hate all the back end business of the business, right? And all the back end admin work. So if I've got something I really hate doing, I'll come on here and do a live. Sometimes I've even done 2 lives in a day. I don't know what I was must have been bookkeeping or something. I was really trying to get away from something. Okay. You got a kid who's constantly hitting. He's almost 3. I would actually use the behavior board if he's maybe within a couple of weeks of 3. It really kicks in at 3. That's when they can start to stop and think before they act. Put down no hitting on the behavior board. Otherwise, you can check out my my Toddlers Who Hit course. That's a mini course. You can check that out. Or you can just try the free behavior board. But yeah, there has to be a consequence for that. We all work on consequences. Think about it. We all work on accountability. We pay our rent so we're not kicked out. We pay our taxes so we don't go to jail. We don't speed like crazy all the time because we're probably going to get a ticket. You see, we all work with consequences. That's why kids who don't get discipline growing up really struggle out there in the world because they didn't learn any discipline growing up. So yeah, they don't have very good life skills. They're, self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. I remember 30 years ago when this Please Your Parent style first came out, it started with the participation awards. Jeez. I remember thinking, what are people thinking? So you just turn up and you get an award. Talk about self-entitled. What are you teaching your kids? Oh, stupid. Anyway, and when that came out, I remember thinking we're in for trouble. And now teachers are bailing, quitting right, left, and center because kids are so ill-behaved. They have a hard time just teaching. So they're dealing with behavior just as much as anything else these days. Okay, potty training. It's a whole process, step by step by step. I can't just tell you what to do on here. Check out my potty training course. It's actually a potty party. I train my son, 2.5 years old. I train both my kids at 2.5. That's when you know they're pretty much all ready by 2.5. I probably could have trained my daughter at 2 or younger even. She was ready, but I knew for sure I never wanted pull-ups or night diapers, and they didn't have them. My son was trained in 1 day. My daughter was trained in 2 days. And but there's a few tricks along the way in how you manage that. I remember shortly after my son was potty trained, I went grocery shopping and I was at the checkout. Family shopping, there's tons of groceries and beep, beep, beep. And then he says, I have to poo. And I'm like, oh, can you just wait? And he says, I have to poo now. And now this is in Australia where I raise my kids. And grocery stores are not freestanding like they are here in North America. They are inside of a mall. Like you can't even get outside access to them. They're inside a mall. So the bathrooms for the mall were at the other end of the mall. And I had a 2.5-year-old who said, I have to go poo now. And I was at the checkout with hundreds of dollars worth of groceries. Anyway, so I just looked at the checkout lady. She goes, just go. And there was another mom there too. She goes, don't worry, we'll pack everything up for you. They were so nice. And I ran holding his bum, just in case, because he didn't have any pull-ups on. I don't do that. So, and I had him and a public toilet. Oh, gross. I had a porta potty in the car, but I knew it would be harder to get to. So I hovered him over the toilet and I just got there in time. And I went back and they had all my groceries all packed for me and everything. But yeah, it can get messy. What kind of consequences would you recommend for 4-year-olds? Usually a chore, and it's usually something like um, help with the laundry, clean some windows. It's usually a chore. And people often ask this actually. They say, we don't want to make chores a negative. Well, yeah, they kind of are. That's okay. That's that pleaser parent coming out because we want to make everything fun and easy for our kids. No, you don't. That's ridiculous. So then they start a job. I don't want to do that. It's not fun and easy. So you want to teach your kids that it's okay to not like doing chores. You still got to do them. Yeah, 18-month-old throws his head back. They do that all the time. So just physically restrain them. If it's that big of a problem, kick a pillow underneath them or get them a foam helmet. But yeah, they grow out of that. They eventually learn that hurts. But yeah, they're crazy. Toddlers don't make any sense. Don't try and figure them out. Hitting, pinching, biting. Yeah, I have a course on that called Toddlers Who Hit, Bite, Etc. I didn't mention pinching, but it's all the same thing. That's up in the link above. Do you answer questions about 1-year-olds? Yeah, but I just sort of scroll through all the questions and you're terrified of potty training. I did it in a party and it was just me and my kids. And my daughter was reading my course, the potty training course the other day. And she said, oh, it really was a party. And I said, oh yeah, party hats and all. It's all partay. It's very messy. But yeah, it's a partay. And my kids, I already had some respect, so it was easier for me. So when I said you're going to sit on the potty, they did, even though they didn't like it. They knew mom was going to make them sit on it, so they just learned. But it's harder, but it's a good way to start getting respect. It's very organized. It's fun. It's a system. It's rules. It's timers. It's treats. It's like, it's a really good way to start setting yourself up as a leader. Like you really look like you know what you're doing when you follow that party training thing. I remember once I used to do a lot of TV and radio, and all TV that I did, it was all live. And anyway, it was on breakfast TV and morning shows and stuff like that. So I came on as a parenting expert. So I was teaching potty training on this morning program, and they wheeled in a toilet. They wanted me to decorate it up to show, because you're supposed to decorate the toilet, right? So they wanted me to decorate the toilet and make it, I just thought, now this is my partner as a toilet. Like how classy am I? Oh, it's funny. Okay, sorry, I'm just scrolling through because if I answer the older questions, people might have already left by now. How can I get my 5-year-old to follow directions in school and listen first time at home? Everything starts and ends at home. So if they're usually respectful at home, they're usually respectful at school. So check out my boot camp course. You can try the behavior board on its own, and you don't put down listen, because listening is ridiculous. Listen, like you don't put down be good. That's too broad, it's too general, and it's personality based. You put actions down there. So check it out. The behavior board is completely free. You might want to check that out first, and then if you're interested, get the boot camp. It teaches you how to get respect in 5 weeks. When they have a leader at home, they respect everybody. It's just the way it is. They're just polite. Like my son was in grade 2. And his teacher called me on her lunch break to tell me this. She thought it was so cute. She said to my son, he was in grade 2, and she said, why are you so nice? And he looked up at her all serious and he goes, Mommy makes us be nice. And you're darn right. So that was my job. I made them be nice. Do your kids have an Australian accent? Only my son. He was 15 when we moved here. My daughter was 10. But we still have a lot of the Aussie slang. Like everything's a boot. It's not a trunk or a back hatch. It's all a boot. And the kitchen counters are benches still. And it's a rubbish bin, not a trash can. Like a whole bunch of stuff. And all my baby terms, I struggle with this. I'm getting better. But all my baby terms are Aussie, right? It's no diapers, they're nappies. And so that's all normal to me. So, but yeah, only my son has the Aussie accent. And of course, my ex-husband's Australian, so. And I'll just tell this story quickly, why I ended up back in Canada. I married an Australian, moved down there, and I was there for about 20 years. Anyway, when we came back, I said, my mom got ill. She was older, and she wasn't doing very well. So and I'm the only daughter. And my mom needed me. Like, I just thought, we were already separated, and I thought, what am I doing in Australia when my mom needs me? I didn't want to leave Australia because I love Australia. I love Canada too, but I didn't want to move again. It's just such a huge move. And I had 2 kids, 2 Australian kids. So my husband at the time was Australian. So I said to him, we were separated, and I said, look, my mom needs me. I want to move back to Canada with the kids. And he said, over my dead body. And I said, well, that can be arranged, but you have to come too. I'm not going to take kids away from their dad. And so he did. 7 months later, we all moved to Canada. It was a really difficult thing to do. And, I don't even know if I could visit Australia because I never wanted to leave. I left for my mom. And, several years later, she died in my arms. It was a beautiful goodbye. I'm really glad I did it. But it's a really difficult thing to do. Moving overseas with kids. Plus, I had to travel on my own, a Canadian-sounding mom with 2 Aussie kids on a one-way ticket from Australia to Canada. Legals, like I paid a fortune for a lawyer to get, it was awful. Anyway, so I've been through a lot. It was really rough. I don't think my kids will ever really appreciate how hard that was. It was very difficult. Okay. Oral fixation too. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't let people in my live. I only did it once, and it was about a year ago or a year and a half ago when I first started doing lives. I didn't know what I was doing, so I let someone in. And then I have a big following on TikTok. And I had 500,000 people following me at the time. And they just were trying to sell their business. They got on there and started talking about their business. I was just horrified. I went, click, I got rid of them. And I said, sorry about that. Like, imagine trying to hijack I gave them my audience. Just, stupid me. Anyway, not to say you would do that, but that's why I don't let anyone in here. Okay. Yeah, I do make everything positive because I think it's really important to work on that. My mother, I'm going to get going soon, but my mother was a joy-seeking missile. No matter what was going on in her life, and she had a tough life, she always chose to see the positive. She just always did. It was unbelievable. My dad died when I was 14. We were waiting. He was in the hospital. He had cancer. And we got the call. And my mom and I cried for about 5 minutes. And then she goes like, this is my mom. Perfect example of my mother. We cried for about 5 minutes. And then she goes, okay. She goes, weren't we lucky to have him all those years? He just died. That was my mother. That was my example. And it's funny because I did have a tendency to be more negative before. And then when she died, it's like, I don't have that in me. I can't be around negative people. I avoid anyone who doesn't bring me joy. And I'm really good at just cutting people out of my life. If they don't bring me joy and they don't treat me well, they're gone. And because I've just learned, joy is what life's all about. And I tried to get that with my kids too. I tried to teach them that is that happiness in the long run. That's all that really matters. Treat people well, be happy, and try to find the positive in everything. Because it's easier to find the negative. Sometimes you have to work to get the positive, but it's worth it and it becomes a habit. Okay, so I'll answer one more question after that speech and then I'll get going. Okay, good question. It's a very good general question. Do you find a big difference with girls and boys? Not at all. Not at all. I'll have years where I'll think, wow, there was a lot of real feisty boys. And then I'll have other years in my business where it'll be like, ooh, a lot of feisty girls. The only thing that I've seen consistently is with teenagers. They do a lot changes when they're teenagers. Boys don't tend to talk as openly and as often. And also when I'm hired to work with parents who have teenagers, their girls are usually, or more often than not, well, it's the same thing as usually, 12 to 16. I mean, I'll get exceptions, some 18-year-olds, but if it's usually 12. With boys, it's almost always just turned 15. It's bizarre, isn't it? That's when they just sort of change. As boys just turned 15, because I'll say, "How old's your son?" They say, "Oh," and I'll go. They'll say it, and I'll say it with them. Just turned 15. Like it's that common. So that's a bit different with boys and girls. The teen years, yeah, a lot changes in the teen years, but not when they're young. No, haven't seen it at all. Not at all. Anyway, I got to get going. Thanks so much for joining me. I do these lives pretty much every day. The only scheduled ones are Tuesday and Thursday night. It's in the bio. Also in the bio is my link. The link links to everything that I have in my business that you might be interested in. My free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and coaching with me. That's the top of the line. If you're really struggling with kids, it's coaching. If it's something really out of the ordinary or teenagers, it's coaching. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again sometime tomorrow. Take care.